just a place where many people with the shared idea of police accountability can go and conversate with one another and share tactics. So again, it's decentralized. There is no one leader, ruler, master as per the beliefs of anything at Copblock. So folks can share their own stories with a submit tab. They can put their own videos up, and like many have done across the country and even a few in the world, I guess, have started their own chapters or groups, and some of these are Facebook oriented or YouTube or a mixture of both, and have like websites and stuff, and so they also go out and do things more local, but again shared at copblock.org. So basically it's a one-stop shop hub, and so the website has like regular writers and contributors, a submit tab, videos, ways to learn more, promote, like share ideas, tactics, graphics. I mean, it's got a Facebook page which has like 30,000 likes. It's a good medium to share other ideas and stuff. Go to facebook.com/Copblock and check that out. And pretty cool stuff. I don't know, you want to touch on it a bit more?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Being here. Thanks for coming out, and appreciate reconnecting with a lot of good folks I've met before coming through Nashville, and seeing how we're continuing on this evolution together and everything, connecting with other people. But like Ademo said, Copblock, for those that aren't familiar with it, it's people ask me to describe it, and I say it's a site dedicated to police accountability. But really, for me, it's a medium through which we can inject a message of complete liberty into the conversation of police accountability. So, like Ademo said, it really comes down as the decentralization is the way to go, instead of looking to what some people 1,000 miles away in some suits that you've never met, instead of paying attention to what they're putting on paper and what they then claim to be able to do to you, instead of paying attention to that, pay attention to what's going on around you and the people in your sphere. And the more time, look at it as a time allocation. How can you be most efficient? Does it make sense to dedicate 100% of your time to paying attention to what these people are doing, this third party, totally unremoved for your life? Or does it make sense to pay attention to what's going on in your life and people around you that you care about? So what I mean by that is, instead of saying, oh, this law, which is really man-made legislation conflated to be law, what that does or doesn't do to you, that those people have no more right to do something to you today if they passed something yesterday than they did the day before that. So, I'd encourage each of you guys to really think about how important language is to this conversation, and see through the doublespeak, the sugar-coated ways of what I call the status quo, the way things are framed. There was an article that came out in Nashville here earlier this week about a guy named Andre Robinson, who works for the Nashville Police Department, and this gentleman has been disciplined 31 times in his career so far, and he's been just more recently accused of assaulting a woman for at least the third time. And so if he has 31 complaints that the police even tell you about, how many does he have that they're not telling you about? So what I'm encouraging you to do is, instead of trying to work through their systems, which are based on force, like the system that they try to put on you, they say, we're here to serve and protect you, but to do that by necessity, they first steal from you. They say everybody who lives within Nashville is our customer. And so what I would encourage you to do is, if you see folks that are doing things you wouldn't voluntarily pay for, don't pay for it. And if you see somebody shaking, if you're approached, people say, how do you interact with police? You can choose to say, am I free to go, am I being detained, and if not, walk away, and if so, you can be quiet, or choose to go on the offensive. But I would approach it just like you would approach me. If me and Ademo approached you on the street and said, hey, let me go through your bag, dude, you'd be like, what are you talking about? Who are you? What right do you have to go through my property? Treat them like you treat anybody else. They have no extra rights. And if you treat them like they have extra rights, and if you call them officer or captain, or you say the Nashville Police Department instead of saying Joe Smith, who works at Nashville, did this to me, I mean, that's what Copblock's about, holding individuals accountable and then striking the root, and seeing that at the root of this problem of the size and scope of government, which is just a bad idea, the root of that is people that are acting based on that bad idea. They're not acting based on text on paper or what somebody tells them to do. They're buying into it sort of unthinkingly. And so I don't have the attitude, which pardon my language if there's kids in here, but some people who get involved with Copblock might initially say, oh, fuck the police. And for me, I recognize that where that attitude comes comes from, but for me that's not the end goal, because ideally I think a lot of us have a shared end goal, which is to live in a prosperous, safe community, you know, where we're each free to pursue our own interests and we let each other do that. And right now the biggest hindrance of that is this organized criminal organization, association of individuals, and again, individuals are responsible. It's not the government, it's not us versus the government, it's individuals acting, and they're responsible. So the more, if you know somebody who's doing something you don't agree with, whether it's your neighbor, whether it's someone down the street with a badge, call them out. I mean, at Copblock we have call floods. If your rights are violated, do a write-up, and better yet, submit a video. We encourage you to film all your interactions, and let the truth of the day, let transparency work for us. I mean, the bullies want to censor their misdeeds, and they want to hide behind their legalese. They want to say, oh, this dude had a bad, he just assaulted me, or he just beat up my girl or something. But he has sovereign immunity because he has a badge, so he can't be held accountable. What the hell is that? It's a made-up word, and if we pay attention to it and think it has legitimacy, it does. And what I'm encouraging you to do is, instead of saying we need to take back America or fix this government, educate yourself and act as you would want others to treat you. And it really comes down to self-government. It comes down to being free and being responsible yourself and holding others to the same standards. So I'm not here to tell you to live according to my morals, but look at yourself and align your actions with your conscience. And if you're against war, why are you giving this criminal outfit money to go bond people? Just like if you're against the corruption happening locally, why would you willingly pay these people? Why, if you're stopped or harassed, would you pay their ransoms just to get them off your back? What's that going to do? It's going to set the stage for tomorrow for even more ransom, or even worse threat, or an even worse stage for the next generations. So I really encourage you to just think about how your actions and your conversations with other people, read through the doublespeak, realize how important language is, and just, you know, this is a growing community for a good reason, because ideas are being shared, and for so long through human history, like censors and people that want to control others have burnt books, and they've killed people that threaten their claimed authority. But today, I mean, we have the internet, we have many bottom-up solutions, and that's why I'm really optimistic. I meet more and more people who are getting involved, more people who yesterday had a glowing affinity for law enforcement, and then today they had an interaction and it really opened their eyes, and they saw just how flawed at its core is this institution of police as it's structured today. So I encourage you to really unpack that and realize that the teeth of the bad idea of the state, that so many of us think is too big and too regulatory and all these things, the teeth for that are the people who wear badges. They are the enforcers for the state. And if you focus your attention there, it doesn't matter what's put on paper elsewhere. So that's my message to you. And I encourage you to check out copblock.org. I appreciate everybody who's submitted a post, who started groups, who's done everything. And
pay your speeding tickets with pennies, I did.
We got like 5 more minutes, so I'll just touch briefly on that national story I mentioned, that dude Andre Robinson, to give you some of the doublespeak to try to be aware of. Like, the police spokesperson said, the lobby assignment is one that no one wants and underscores the seriousness with which Chief Steve Anderson, the deputy chiefs, take the allegations. So this, and later they say his other acts of negligence, 31 counts, include driving offenses, failure to appear at court, failure to appear at work. I mean, if you and I did this stuff, we wouldn't have a job. But these guys, you know, they work for a system where there's no accountability, where they investigate themselves, where their colleagues in the court of justice suffer from the same person sentence, which is no competition. So their goal is not to serve their customers, it's to grow the size and scope of their influence. So I just encourage you guys to think about that. And then at the end, the article concludes with the police are doing an investigation. So, I mean, that's the mainstream media. That's what the mainstream media tells you. Oh, they're doing an investigation, and that's all they say. They're just puppets, just mouthpieces for the status quo. So that's why I'm glad to see so many awesome projects and blogs and other things start from the ground up, and like we're working together. So, you know, we just become our own media. We provide the goods and services that are in demand, and we build parallel institutions. And meanwhile, you know, instead of, if you have an encounter with someone with a badge, if you come at them with hostility, they're going to just think, if you were in that position, you wouldn't be too receptive to a new idea. You know, and I know I was went into law enforcement, and there's some people that go into law enforcement that have good intentions, they may never have been exposed to these ideas. So if you can, just be a good ambassador and try to share ideas with them. Leave them with a resource to check out on their own time. You know, it's not us versus them. We're never going to have a peaceful, prosperous society with fragmentation. We have to find this harmonious relationship, and that's what I think we can do, and I think it's needed, because otherwise things could, you know, go the wrong direction. Real quick, appreciate your time again. The next folks up is a Heart Story and the Love Project. I had just learned them myself recently when I learned of this event, and check out their song. And Heart has a beautiful voice, and so I just want to share a little bit about them. Their mission is to inspire others to be filled with genuine love and steer their journey, breathing a liberated life. Heart says she's been seeing you as long as she's been talking. She went to Belmont University for composition and vocal performance. And her colleagues with the Love Project are Johnny Livermore on drummer and Cheyenne Quinter on guitar. So I guess we'll bring them up. And again, we got a table back there. Come by, have a conversation, check out Copblock, give us feedback, and